Right, so I'm going to cobble together some information on animating UVs. So this is the idea of unwrapping a portion of your mesh and animating the position of that UV across an image texture. So this is the image texture for this guy here. And if we just pause the animation, snap into edit mode, there's the portion I have unwrapped, this little section here on the face. And you can see the UV at the moment is sitting over the kind of cross face, and it's just a case of moving that about and keyframing its position on this image to change the image texture, to change the expression. Why do we want to do this? Well, it's part of the Unit 63 grade criteria. Learner's animation of the final 3D modeled character is generally of a good technical standard and expresses the character's attributes / traits as planned for the character profile. So we have to express some elements of the personality that we created when we did Task 2, when we planned out our character. It doesn't necessarily need to be done through a facial expression. I just figured that you know, this might be applicable to some of your plans. I think it's quite a good, easy way to add facial expressions. It doesn't need to be facial expressions. We could just as easily express, have our characters express emotion through movements or just through animating our color changes. However, the purpose of this is to talk about these UV animations. So I'm just going to use a default cube for this. Just going to check what the front face is. That's it there. And let's go into edit mode and unwrap that face. So just U to unwrap that face. Let's have a look at it in the image editor. And there it is there. Let's scale it down. That's far too big. It doesn't really matter where it is at the moment. We are going to export the UV layout to the desktop in this case. We'll just call this face UV. We're going to save the image, to create one first, so click new. It doesn't matter what color the background is here, I just don't like that black background. So we're going to save that image out. We'll just call that face. Is that going? Yeah, that's going to the desktop too. Save as image. Let's give it a name here. Face. And we're going to take those images into Photoshop. So here's my image and my exported UVs. Where's Facebook? Where's Photoshop gone? Go on. Here we go. So there's our exported UV layout, and there's the image that we just created. So I'm going to Command A, Command C, or Control A, Control C, Control V, and paste it into our image here. And let's name that UVs. Let's just quickly create a new layer in between the background and our UVs for our expressions. And I'm just going to very quickly draw out some pretty terrible. Let's do our unhappy face. Oh, our happy face. Now, I would probably, if I was taking a bit more time over this, want to duplicate these eyes, because the only thing I'm changing here is the mouth, so I could duplicate the eyes across and keep them the same. Got different distances between them, etc. here. So the only reason that we're exporting this UV layout is just to use it so we can gauge, so that we can draw out our facial expression so that it will fit that UV. And it's the only reason we export it, so that we can use it as a kind of template to make sure that our facial expressions are going to fit on those, on that UV. So I'm going to switch that off, hide the layer. I'm going to hide the background layer. I want to export a PNG with a transparent background, so that it will apply across the material that we have on our cube. So we'll quickly export this PNG. We'll save over the original image, face.png, replace it, back into Blender, and we'll replace that image. Sorry, reload the image is what we'll do. And there we have it. So, right, now what's next? So we'll move this over the sad face. We will need to create the texture for it. We've got our material here, but we need to create a texture. So we'll click new, and we will select that face image that we created. this is texture. Notice this is text, so just make sure they're the same. The other thing to do, this is the material, this is the texture data for the material textures. So we'll make sure that image mapping, where is it? What do I need to check? The mapping is not generated, it's UVs, and we need to make sure we're using the UV map. And that's pretty much everything, I think. Let's have a look at the textured view. Oh, that's terrible. So we'll make sure we're viewing this with shadeless shading. So there's our text. It's kind of transparent PNG, it doesn't like it very much. But if we have a look at the rendered shading, and if we add in a light in object mode, let's add in a hemi, and there we go. So, animating this then. So back in edit mode, let's go back to texture shading, back into edit mode, and we're going to animate the position of this UV across the image. And to do that, we need an add-on. So we're going to go to File. We can't just unfortunately hit I and keyframe that position. We do need an add-on to do this, but it comes with Blender. So we'll just go into the user preferences and search for Anim All. Tick the box, save user settings, close your user preferences, and you will have a new tab, an animation tab here on the toolbar for the 3D view. And what we want to animate is UVs, so we'll make sure we have that ticked, and then we just insert keyframes where we want them. So you need to make sure your playhead is at the correct position, obviously. I'm happy with this frame 0, so I will click Insert, and we will have a keyframe on frame 0. It is actually frame 1. And let's move the playhead on a couple of seconds. Let's hit G and move our UV across, and then insert another keyframe. There it is. And if we have a look at that, oh, very important, we can't preview this in edit mode. We need to switch back to object mode, and now we'll see it happening. So you'll see this interesting transition. That might be what you're after. It's not what I'm after. I don't imagine it's what is going to work for you guys either. You can see it is actually animating its position across the image, and that is down to the interpolation. So if we switch over to the graph editor and hit T with those keyframes and choose constant. So constant will stay as the frown until it hits the smile keyframe, and it will snap to that new position. So let's just check that's working. So it's frown, 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 smile. Let's see that again. Frown, 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 smile. Yeah, it's working fine. Now, if you wanted a true kind of keyframe animation, if you wanted to tween the transition between this frown and the smile, you obviously need to draw more drawings. I kind of went for that in this example here, where we have 4 or 5 different sizes of eye here to transition from the small to the large, and I thought it worked all right. Let's just check. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, and I think I've got a render of it somewhere. It looked all right. So 4 or 5 transitioned, 4 or 5 frames to transition from that small eye to the large eye. It's not previewing very well here at 10 frames per second. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling. This has been about the most shambolic episode, if I could call it that, so far. But like I said, I thought this might apply to some of the models that you guys are working on. There are some kind of complex versions of this on YouTube, so hopefully I've kind of simplified that for you and it makes sense. If not, obviously just ask and I will be glad to help you.